Great. Good morning, guys. Thank you so much for joining today, this session. And in today's session, we will be talking about something very, very dear to, I think, everybody's heart, which is the college search. And this becomes the term search is such a it's so loaded because we have like 3,500 good colleges in this country. Most of them colleges are actually better than most colleges in the world. But along with choice comes a very unique problem, which is how do you choose one out of 3,600 colleges? How do you choose the best one? When I was growing up, the choices were far limited, right? You knew there were like 7, 8 good colleges, and depending upon your grade, you knew which college you're going to go to. Okay? That was back home in India. Here, things are different. Even if you have all the best grades, you might not get into the school, and marketing is through the roof. If you ask any parent, they will take the name of Harvard, Stanford, MIT, and maybe Boston College or something along with that. But that's about it. The marketing by the top 20 or top 30 is so massive, okay, that A, it's very hard to know all the colleges, okay. B, they don't want you to know about them. The reason these schools charge the amount of fee they charge is because they do a lot of marketing. There are smaller schools which do not have that kind of marketing budget, yet have very damn good teachers, okay, which nobody even comes to know about. Half the schools in this country never land up getting a full enrollment, which is a shame because these are actually pretty good schools. Because we just don't know of them. And my goal in this process is to, how do you get the list of 3,500 schools in front of people so they can decipher what it is without overwhelming them. Yes, anything over 10 gets overwhelming. I totally understand that. But if you know what you're looking for, if you're looking for, if you know you're looking for a particular needle in a haystack, if you know the color of the needle is blue and you know the size is maybe 5 inches tall, or maybe you know the width of it, it's a lot easier than to look for just a goddamn needle or just a piece of hay in a massive haystack. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do. Teach you what does it mean to look for a particular college, how do you make the match, and then what are the dimensions of evaluation. Okay, so starting with what is a right college. First important thing is what are the colleges you need. Okay, and before I go into this presentation, let me show you something. Okay, come on. Okay, all right. So let's talk about the fact that there are 4 types of colleges at a very high level. Okay, so when I said there are 3,500 colleges in this country, they're broken down into colleges, which are basically what's called as liberal arts, which are very, very small schools, like 3,000-4,000 people. Then there are universities, which are typically research oriented. They are much larger. They have, master's and PhD level programs as well. Colleges only cater to undergraduates. Okay. Then there are technical institutes like, Cal Poly, or specialized schools, which are, specific for like engineering or technical sciences. Then there are women's colleges, like where my daughter Shreya goes to. It's a liberal arts college, but it's an all women's college. Okay. Those are women's colleges. Brilliant, amazing schools. Then there are communities colleges or 2-year colleges, as we call them, okay, which is like the Olonis of the De Anzas in the Bay Area. Okay, and then there are public universities. So there is private colleges. Okay, there are private universities. There are technical institutes. There are women's colleges, community colleges, and then there are public universities. Public universities are like UC Berkeley or Rice University or NYU. No, NYU is a private university. Okay, so actually Rice is also public. So, but University of California, UCLA, all of those are public universities. Okay, and so they are a little subsidized for particular in-state. And then out of state, of course, pays a lot more. So yeah, University of Washington in Seattle is state subsidized. Okay, so that's the diaspora. If you just even break down this diaspora of colleges, from liberal arts to universities to technical institutes, women's colleges, like there are probably about more like 700 to 800 good colleges. Okay, liberal arts colleges in the country. There are private universities, that are probably about 300, 400 universities. There are technical institutes. There are all women's colleges. These are less than 10 colleges. And I really wanted my daughter to go there, and she was really into it. So we landed up choosing Wellesley College, which is the school that Hillary Clinton went to. And it's a top of the line school. I can't, I sound like a salesman for Wellesley when I talk about the school, but it's a great college in Boston. Then there are community colleges, public universities, test optional. Is there any questions about what these are before I go into actual details of some names of some schools? Or this is clear? What are the four types of, like very high level? Universities, colleges, community colleges, state schools, private, public. Clear? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. So now let's talk about specific liberal arts colleges. What does it mean to go to a liberal arts school firstly? Okay. In liberal arts schools, it is typically a very balanced curriculum. Half your classes have to be taken in humanities. Okay. So when you're taking half the class of humanities means you're forced to literally do history, political science, economics, things outside the nerdy STEM kind of stuff, where if you look at most employers, they actually look for graduates from liberal arts schools, okay, because they're very well-rounded. They have most CEOs in the world. You take Barack Obama, take Hillary, take any of these smart, iconic figures of life. They have all cut their teeth in a liberal arts school. You would argue an Ivy League school like a Harvard is actually a liberal arts school, which has a very good STEM program. Liberal arts schools in the past did not have very good STEM programs. They were not known for STEM programs, but in the last 20, 30 years, they've picked up kick-ass STEM programs. Case in point is Wellesley. My daughter Shreya does computer science at Wellesley. So she takes half her subjects in humanities, half in computer science. She had only done 2/4 of computer science when Microsoft came to school and picked her up. Okay. She got a return offer over there. So she's learning. My concern always was self-selection bias. I didn't want my daughter to self-select herself out of a classroom of 25 boys and 5 girls and leaving the classroom thinking it's not her type of classroom, because it's all girls school and she's doing really well over there. Okay. Like I said, universities are larger. The problem with universities is it's common in a university, like particularly public universities, it's common to have a classroom size of 3,000 or 300 students, one professor, 300 students, and maybe 6 or 7 TAs. If your child is a hustler, go-getter, is really passionate, it's okay to send him to a public or a private university or a public university because they can handle that. I knew Shreya was not. Shreya liked the 10, 12 students in the class, which is typically what a liberal arts school will give you. The classroom size is less than 20 students. The professor knows everybody by name. It's very common to have even lectures on the weekend where the professor will say, okay, I'll cook you as a meal, come to my house. Okay, that's the culture of liberal arts schools. Universities, you are competing with graduates and postgraduate PhD students for jobs, professors' attention, for research dollars. So it's a lot harder. Okay. So let's look at some of the top liberal arts schools. Most liberal arts schools are actually based in the East Coast. Okay. My top pick typically is Amherst. Really like one of the best schools we can talk about. Wellesley comes number 3 or in the list. Wellesley actually been picking up as well, but Amherst usually comes in number 1. My only problem with Amherst is it's in the middle of nowhere, and we'll talk more about what that means. Like, I really want, if I wanted my daughter to go to the East Coast, I wanted her to be in a place where she's within an hour of going to the airport, and she can get home very quickly. And if I need to get her, like the other day, she needed me. 4 o'clock in the evening, she called, and by 7, I had booked my flight. 10:30, I was on a plane. Next day morning, I was there on site. 8, I was by her side because she was not well. She needed help. Okay. So, but if she was in the middle of Amherst, it would take me 4 hours of driving or 3 hours of driving from the airport to get to her, which I didn't want that. And I wanted vice versa the same way. Okay. These are like, I've actually been to like all these schools. Very, very good schools. Happy to go into more details of each of them. Pomona is pretty much the biggest liberal arts schools in California, if that's an area you're looking at. Carleton College in Minnesota is also very good. There's a little cheaper because Minnesota, not too many students want to go there. Most students either want to be in the East Coast or the West Coast, which is pretty stupid. But like, if you look at liberal arts schools in Minnesota and stuff, they're really damn good. Like Carleton College will give you a damn good deal. These are schools you don't even hear about. Like Claremont McKenna is another very good school in, that's a mistake here. It's not Minnesota, it's here in California. It's in SoCal. But these are very good. So you can even see some universities are called liberal arts colleges because these are very small universities. Okay. Then top engineering schools, which is probably what the meat of the people who are listening to this call want to be interested in, is MIT, Stanford, Berkeley, Caltech, CMU, Michigan, UMich, Georgia, GIT, Urbana-Champaign, Illinois, Purdue. Purdue is a large university, but I'm surprised it made it to the top universities. Not very hard to get into Purdue. So it's a good one. UT Austin again. UT Austin is like a UC Berkeley, massive, really massive. Like, we didn't want to go to such schools. Georgia Institute, very similar, but culturally Georgia is different. It's because down south, it's a great place. University of Michigan is a very good school, but super cold. So you have to decide, is your child, can they handle that kind of cold neighborhoods? My Shreya could never. Carnegie Mellon, hardcore school in East Coast. It's for the nerds, but the jury is out in my mind. Caltech, of course, in California and Pomona, really good. So, and Stanford right here. Women's colleges that I talked about, I've seen all these colleges, like top of the line. Each of them is better than the other. But if I were to make a pick, Barnard typically takes the highest, because it's the sister school of Columbia. If you get in school in Barnard, you can take any class at Columbia, which is Ivy League. Same thing with Wellesley. If you get admitted in Wellesley, you can take any class at MIT, which is really good. Mount Holyoke does not have any such affiliation. Bryn Mawr does have some affiliation with an Ivy League. I think Bryn Mawr is with Amherst, or I forget, not with Amherst. I forget which college they are with, but they are all very, very good. Scripps is here in Pomona, in next to Pomona College in Claremont Consortium. Very good school. So look at that, Scripps College here. Community colleges, we have some damn good colleges here. In fact, one of my articles is on some really good community colleges like Long Beach, Fullerton are really good community colleges in here, in the Bay Area. Okay. Then nationally ranked universities. Of course, you've probably heard of all these schools, Chicago and stuff. But some of the ones which you probably not heard as much are Johns Hopkins, really good for med school too, but even known for being very high for research. Duke is really known for research, University of North Carolina. Jesuit schools are, to me, very interesting because they typically they tend to get a lot of recruiters coming over there, and because they have loaded, right? They're able to bring in a lot of recruiters, and you can find some like Santa Clara University in the Bay Area is a Jesuit university. It's a damn good university. Right? It's a kick-ass place. University of San Francisco is good, but not as good as Santa Clara. And they'll give you pretty good research grants, and they'll actually give you, the merit scholarships because they're pretty loaded, these guys. So consider these schools. Then there are Catholic universities, which is different from Jesuits. Jesuits are different. I don't know what the difference is, but they are different. This is Illinois University, so it's not going into much. Like Wake Forest is a very good college. It's Wake. It's not Lake Forest. It's Wake Forest. The public universities. This is mostly, this article I found was from an Illinois tabloid. So I'm just showing you those. But this school is very good. Urbana-Champaign is like really, really good. Chicago is very good. Then these are the test optional schools, which is pretty much from the same list, but now the test optional is increasing. This list is from 2017. So this list is just growing. Any questions so far? Okay, all right. I've talked before about community colleges, how those are different from universities. This is a great option if you want to consider your child going to a community school, because the good part is if they maintain even a decent enough GPA, like 3.0 or something, they are literally guaranteed an admission into a college, which is of the state school. So like one of my friends, his daughter went to University of Southern California. She didn't have great grades, but she went to a public, community college for 2 years, got there. Another one of my friends from community college has gone to UC Berkeley, and they get very good scholarships there as well. So please never, the reason, it's dirt cheap, it's like $3,000-4,000 is the cost per year, and you can be working from home. So even if you have a child you feel has not really blossomed yet, and you think you could do better by just holding them back home, let them go to community college. They don't have to take a gap year. Let them go there and let them keep taking some credits over there. As they build their confidence, as they're ready to blossom, send them to college. Yeah? And the difference could be like $100,000-200,000 between sending them to a 4-year college and to 2 years community versus 2 years later. Now let's go into colleges search. Okay, so I'm going to stop this one here, the recording, and then I'll start it again.